No, I have not dropped World Trigger. Don't worry, Chibits. I've had a bunch of comments today telling me, have you dropped World Trigger? Where's the review? Don't worry, I'm not dropping the series. I really love the aspect of this series, and I'm looking forward to it. Even though it has its animation flaws, I'm not dropping World Trigger unless it pisses me off in some form. But it looks really good, and it's right up my alley for a type of series. So anyways, Episode 2 of World Trigger. This episode gives us a lot of details to Kuga. Now, a lot of mysteries are brought up. For instance, we always thought neighbors were technically these machine-looking weird monsters that we saw last episode, and we found out Kuga was a neighbor also right at the end. Well, in this episode, it's revealed that Kuga is the actual neighbor, and the creatures that are coming through the gate, like the creatures that we saw in the middle of this episode, is like, I'm guessing, machines or something made by the neighbors. It seems like the neighbors have higher tech than the people on Earth. That's exactly what I'm getting from this episode, because from what I saw from the conversations in this episode, neighbors are the ones that invented the trigger, like trigger on and stuff, activating trigger, and Border took that technology from the neighbors. So here's the big question that pops up with this episode. For Border to have that technology to have trigger, that would mean that they would have to know that neighbors are humans, and that would also go into that they might have some form of neighbors capture in the vicinity of, Border, that big fortress. They might have some form of human neighbors. Now, the big thing is Kuga human, technically? He's human, as he said, but he's a neighbor from a different world. But, I mean, is he necessarily human? Or does he have some form of, advanced tech in his body that causes him to regenerate fast? Because this episode, he blocks a car, he gets hit by a fucking car. Reminded me a lot of Parasite, I want to be honest here. But he gets hit by a car, and he has, these marks. It looks like his face cracks in like a freaking doll. It looks like a porcelain doll type crack. Something you'd see in a doll. And when I saw him, holy shit. And it looked like he was hollow in the inside. And then he started healing, instantly, like a boo or something. And it was fine. So, it makes me think, holy shit. So, he's definitely not fully human. He's definitely from another world. And it makes me question, how human is he? That big question right there. Now, overall, though, the episode is very good. It mainly just shows you Kuga's personality. That's really what this episode does. Shows you his personality, how strong he is as a neighbor, his demeanor, his personality, getting to see how he acts around people, and getting to see how Osamu is trying to deal with him as a person. So the episode, for the most part, is just characterization. Just building up Kuga and building up Osamu, getting to see both of their perspectives and viewpoints about, neighbors, Border, different things like that. And I can see how this series is going to be very good later on down the road. Now, like I said last week and this week, the animation is definitely not the best. Toei animation, they have these problems when it comes to animation. They usually have some fell animation. They usually do. But I felt like, for the most part, this episode, when it comes into the animation department, it wasn't as bad as the first episode. It was not the best, of course, this episode wasn't, but it was a lot better, I think, than the first episode, which is kind of weird, because you'd think you'd want your introduction episode of a series to be the best freaking animation quality to hook your viewers. But this episode had less still frames and a lot better consistent animation than the first episode had. Now, speaking of which, I want to mention once again, that opening song is so damn catchy. I love that opening song so much. I really, really do. I can never skip it when I heard it. I heard it last week, and this week I couldn't skip the opening song because it was just too damn good. Now, like I said, looking very interesting. I think I have a lot of theories about neighbors and stuff, and I wonder exactly what it's going to lead to. Who is Kuga? Why did he come to Earth? Why did he come to Japan? Why did he specifically come from the other world? Another question is, why can neighbors only appear in the Forbidden Zone in Earth? As we saw clearly in the middle of this episode, that neighbors appeared outside the Forbidden Zone, but they were not supposed to be able to do that. They were only supposed to be able to appear in the Forbidden Zone. So, I wonder exactly why it works. Is there some form of barrier or something? There's a lot of questions I have right there, but a good episode. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. How did you feel about this episode of World Trigger? It looks very promising. The series is getting a lot better, so it has potential. Looking forward to next week. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.